We are live from Kansas City this morning, and it feels like fall. It was 63 degrees here, so that definitely cooled off for us. So I hope no matter whatever area of the country that you're in, that things are, weather is settling down. And we do have somebody here from Hawaii, so just wanted to shout out and say we have been praying for you, and everybody that I know has been praying for your state. So thank you for coming today. And we're going to be talking about senior moments, because that's just what I have a lot is senior moments, it seems like. And I've talked about the brain before, but I have a whole different category of possibilities for helping you protect yourself as our lives change and as the years go by and the days go by, So I guess one of the big ideas, and I've maybe shared it before, but my mother has Alzheimer's. And so, sometimes when I forget something, I'm definitely, doubting myself. And that's the time that I need to go to the WAVwatch, or I need to have in my mind other things that I can do and not stress myself out because I've forgotten something, But I've talked to my sister and she does the same thing. And I talk to my neighbor and they do the same thing, So we all have little skips. We have those senior moments, like I'm trying to tell you. But we don't want to just sit around today. That's what we've been taught to do, is just sit and wait, And I think there's so many things that we can actively be doing to protect ourselves. So that's what my whole idea today is in a folder. If you haven't seen it yet, we're going to be talking about the brain area that's in the senior folder. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everybody see my screen? Somebody let me know if you can't. I think we're all there. So senior moments, I've kind of introduced it already. That's what we're talking about. And don't forget that if you do have a senior moment and you want to look back and refresh your memory, I have about 65 targeted ideas on the Facebook group. It's a private group. You do have to join, and it's just a click of a button. I joined it, made it a couple years ago, but it is supposed to be an easy process. It's WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics. And then you can also find portions on Rumble and then YouTube videos. And I think my developer told me the other day there were 120 some videos on YouTube. I don't know exactly what they are, how long they are. They're just segments, but you might be able to find that some information there, or you can find the targeted idea with a lot of information specifically on YouTube. And then don't forget, you can just go to the website also if you're interested in sharing the idea with anybody else. So what this is all about is sound, obviously. And so I think most of you are frequency fanatics. That's why you're here, because we have learned that sound does have so much to do. God spoke us into existence. Everything started from sound, in my opinion. And I like to say that they do have images of cymatics, which is basically putting a little bit of sand on a plate and then introducing different frequencies to it. And they have actually seen that sand make mountains and valleys, or hills and dales, or however you'd like to say it. And so they're actually starting to realize that sound shaped the world and so many ideas inside it, but it shaped the terrain. So that is very interesting to me. So just like it shaped the terrain of the world, or could have shaped the terrain of the world, basically it has the ability to change our body. And that's what we're talking about today. So sound is old, old, old. And I think most of us at this time are realizing how amazing the ancient peoples were, that they knew so much and it's been lost, you know. So we have kind of strayed away from using sound, but it is an old technique, maybe that we're reintroducing more and more. So, of course, they had all kinds of tools that they used. And just a fun little idea, I named my business 432 Energetics, and that's after the 432 hertz frequency, which is supposed to be the frequency of the world from how they've measured it. But what I highlighted today is that it's supposed to be an effective facilitator of positive mental processes and emotional stability. So that's kind of what we're talking about today, is those senior moments. So 432 is a good frequency for that. So in higher mental and emotional clarity. So I just thought that was a fun little tie-in. Now, also, we don't talk about this a lot. Sometimes it's, you know, at the very last. And I just wanted to say that chakras are amazing, that some people are really skeptical of them. They don't think they're Christian, you know, the list goes on and on. But basically, it's just a different culture's way of notating that different parts of our body are resonating at a different frequency. And that's finally been acknowledged and measured. They know the measurement of the kidney. They know the measurement of our hypothalamus. They know an actual measurement for our thyroid, and the list goes on and on. So that's all, in my opinion, that's all chakras are. So it is a frequency that we have here. And so the chakras are on the WAVwatch, and that's a really easy thing to just put on a loop and go around and round to protect you from, or to help you for a lot of different ideas. And so that's an easy starting point to look at different ideas in our body very easily. And then just another little bit of feedback from David Higgins. And he said that sound frequencies in music can affect our hormones and are capable of triggering a release of endorphins, which help relieve stress and strengthen our immune system. So a lot of words there to just let you know that music can change our lives. And again, that's what our ancient cultures knew. That's mostly what they were creating, was music. So I do say that the WAVwatch is a different form of music. It's not, quote, something that you'd want to listen to, but it has specific tones and frequencies, just like different music does, to change your body or help it or rebalance it, whatever word you want to use about that. So in the senior icon, there is a category labeled brain. And some of you may have some of the older watches that are 850 to 870 frequencies. The new watch has 1,000 frequencies on it. And the only idea in here that is new would be this, the very top one that I've highlighted. And sadly, I actually added that when I saw some information about Bruce Willis having such a hard time with this problem. And the rest of these are in either watch. Now, don't forget that if you would like to update to the 1,000 frequencies, you can just order a TF card, which is $60. You can make a connection with info@wavwatch.com, and you will connect with Tom, my great customer service representative. And he's also the repair person and the developer of this product. And so you can email him, and he does have the ability to work with replacing the battery, sending you a TF card, you know, whatever you do need. Or you can go online if you don't need any repairs, or you don't need any you know, a new battery, something like that, and just order the TF card on its own, just online. So anyway, you would only be missing one idea if you have the 870 watch. And so these are the ideas that I wanted to cover a little bit today. And they're pretty fun or unusual or stressful. It can be thought of in many different ways, because as we look around us, I remember when I was younger, my great grandmother was having some of these troubles, Well, now I'm in the stage, I'm the grandma stage. And so we want to do as many things as we can to protect our brains. And it's getting harder and harder. My grandma didn't have, and my great grandmother didn't have near as many toxins in the environment as we do today. So things have changed and we've got to be paying more attention. And all of us know that we're all there. So here's a testimony I did get, and this is from someone named Mimi. I hid the rest of the name and the email address, but this was a testimony. And she said, since using the watch for a month, I decreased my blood pressure meds in half. And I also got good results with depression and memory and a feeling of well-being. So it can't get any better than that, can it? That's what we want to do, is make sure that we are using maybe some of these frequencies to protect us in many different ways, or to help us, to rebalance us, to change our lives. So this is the very first problem. And again, I've already mentioned Bruce Willis. We have a hard time recalling people or even an object. They can't look at the object and see it correctly. So they've lost that sense. And it's kind of like another name for is visual amnesia. So they do say that if you look at it, if that person looks at it from a different viewpoint, that sometimes they can recognize it. But if they're looking at it more head on, or, in one particular way, they might not recognize it, but they move around a little bit and they can recognize it. So that's kind of interesting, So that's what the first frequency is for. And I just added it to the watch. I don't have any testimonies. I don't know if it's helpful or not, but I do know that I have a belief that so many of these frequencies have helped people. I probably have testimonies. I can't say I have double-blind studies. I just have testimonies, And so I have enough testimonies that why wouldn't you try this? Why wouldn't you do this to protect your brain once in a while? So as I was prepping for this presentation today, I played this for a day and a half, so it looped all night long on me, and it was looping through every single idea in this folder. And I felt a little sharper, and maybe that's about it, but that's all I can tell you. But somebody might come up with something specific if they have been diagnosed. But again, this is safe. These frequencies are safe. They are, it's not a prescription, it's not a drug, it's not addictive, if there are no side effects. The list goes on and on of why this is a great tool to try. And I do see once in a while that people say, hey, med bed on your wrist. Why wouldn't you try it? Just a little bit more information on the next one that is on that possibility to use is anomia. And this is a little similar, to the last one. They can't remember the words that they want to use. So basically, the left side of the brain processes language, and the right side of the brain processes sensation. So when those two connections get interrupted, we can have some language difficulties. So they know what causes it. I couldn't find anything medically that they are doing for it, except for a small fun idea. I guess I'll jump ahead here because I already introduced it. But there's a game called Anomia, And so I'm not sure how the game exactly works. I'm not saying it would help, but I'm saying all that the medical community has done or has that I could find online. I'm not saying I'm a medical doctor by any means, or I specialize in, in brains or anything like that. I'm just saying that what I found was mostly what they are doing with people who have anomia is basically working with, teaching them, drilling them, having them, repeat ideas. This is what seniors know to do, crossword puzzles, we might do other things to kind of work with our memory and that kind of thing. So that's the best thing that they have come up with so far. So why wouldn't you want to add the frequency to for anomia, to your list of things that you could do just as a prevention protective idea for our brains? And all this is doing, or what this is doing, the importance of it, it's helping the brain to rewire itself and create new pathways. So wow, whether it's a game that our kids are playing, the idea is there that sometimes we miss words. So there were lots of different forms of this anomia. They had them for small children. They had them for games for animals, recall. It was just endless. So, if you actually do know somebody who's having a problem with anomia, that might be just a fun idea to take a game over, and leave that with them. And the game is called anomia. It's not going to, bother anybody whatsoever to play a game. And maybe that would actually help that person. But again, they could be going to their medical community and getting specific treatments for people who are trained in those kinds of drills that they want to use to help that memory spot. So there are also different names that this goes by. So anomia, amnesic, aphasia, and dysphagia are some different names that this term also goes by. And so that could be caused by strokes, infection, brain abscesses, brain tumors, nutritional deficiencies. Isn't that sad? That's that strikes me in the face, and then toxemia. Of course, we are toxic. Our environment is toxic. And, I know I'm a repeat. Every week we talk about toxins. And then, of course, injuries. So this can be caused from specific ideas. And some people, it's going to be more obvious than others. Right away, you'll know if somebody has a stroke, why they're not talking very plainly. But that would be some frequency that they could play besides the stroke and stroke paralysis. And I've had a couple people and testimonies on stroke improving a lot with just those two ideas. But that person, might not have found the anomia. They might not have found the brain frequency inside the senior folder. So I kind of wanted to point that out. As I developed my product, I didn't quite know how to organize everything. It was a little hard to do. And if, some people like to look on the whole list, and that's under files. You would need to go to files, A through Z, and you can look down through 1,000 ideas to see if something's in there. But to me, that's the hardest way to find something. The easiest way is at least to start with a icon. So seniors is an icon that would help for stroke. And then also on the brain, ideas are more frequencies for stroke. And for the rest of them, that's what I'm talking about. So you might have a couple of different ideas. There's never just one idea. So if we change gears just a little bit, the next idea that is on there is anosmia, and then a couple of alphabet letters down is a hyposmia, if I'm saying these right sometimes, which is the again another partial loss of the sense of smell. And so this went on and on the symptoms that you could be having or the things that could be causing this. So is it any wonder that our troubles get more and more throughout our lives at any age, So we can definitely have a change of smell with exposure to chemicals. Amazing, how that's not a new learning experience for any of us. That's something that we know, but we might not know that our underactive thyroid could cause problems with smell. Hormones could cause problems with smell. So if you are having some problems with smell, you might pick out some of these ideas that relate to you and loop that idea over and over again. So the two that pop up for me is more the hormones and the underactive thyroid that could be, helpful with that. We can also, if you have diabetes, epilepsy, schizophrenia, I do have frequencies for that. And I also have frequencies for vaccinations. And if you haven't heard that before, my attempt to detoxify is in the detox folder. And it's the very last one. It's labeled viral detox. So that is pretty important. So huge. Now, if you're a smoker, that's a common problem with smokers, is their sense of smell has basically been burned out. You know, the inside of the nose has been damaged over the years. Now, it's going to be your search, if you have any medications. Maybe you started a new medication, or they changed your medications, or you've been on one for a long time. It may not be that the first day you started this medication that you started having trouble with your sense of smell, but 4 years down the line you did, and that medication is just now affecting it. That does happen. Usually we think it's closer and so it's related, but sometimes it's long-term use of something that can cause a problem, and therefore we don't identify it. So if you are having a loss of smell, then please go through some of these ideas and check them. Because when we start having these features going on, there may be some other problems developing also. So don't want to hit it too hard. Don't want to, get too, I was kind of depressed. It was a little hard for me to do this one. There's so many things. And, this isn't just our elder people. Our young generation is having trouble with this also. So many ideas are related to problems with the sense of smell. I do know a 12-year-old girl that has already had surgery 3 or 4 times for nasal polyps, and then the list goes on and on. I do not know that she has a loss of smell. I'm just saying that she's had surgery for these nasal polyps. And so, later on in life, that surgery or that problem can cause problems with the sense of smell. So the next idea, I just kind of wanted to, I just thought this told it all, anxiety symptoms. So the next thing that goes hand in hand with our senior moments, if I can say it that way, I think that makes the most sense, is anxiety. Sometimes we have no idea that anxiety can be causing some of these symptoms. So look at all of these, muscle tension, body jolts, giddiness. Maybe that's me, giddiness from anxiety, weak legs, headaches, brain zaps. There's so many ideas. So yawning, I used to yawn a lot. I hadn't actually thought about that being connected to anxiety, but so we do. And even hearing loss is noted as an anxiety problem. So that's another thing that we should be playing through. And like I said, I was really glad to be able to loop that idea, for about a day and a half before I gave this presentation. And it is really, I'm kind of struggling for a word here. I am talking about words, but the word I wanted to say, that it gave me a lot of peace of mind to have those on my watch and just be circling through those. I'm not saying it did anything. I'm not saying I had a medically diagnosed problem, but I did feel, a little bit of difference there. Just, kind of relaxed me a little bit. So anxiety symptoms, if you're in an anxious spot, if you're going somewhere that could upset you, that kind of thing, that's a good thing to work with. Now, we've already passed a holiday, we just went through maybe being with more family and friends. And sometimes when our families are the cause of our anxiety, the main cause. And so that would have been a good one. Just that anxiety problems would have been a good one to loop through. while you are with family, if you know that they cause you anxiety or they have in the past. So we need to kind of be anticipating and paying attention to our body, because that's what happens. Sometimes some people don't pay attention to their bodies as much as others do, and therefore they have many problems. But if you can anticipate and play something or take something along with you, that kind of thing, you might be a little better off for that. Okay. Now we're just going to move on to the next one that's on there. And this is just one category that I put in brain, but these are two columns. One is, basically physical, and the next is more memory ideas or personality changes. So with dementia, all of us want to prevent it. No one wants to go there. So again, I run through these every once in a while. It's almost gotten as important to me as my parasite remedy. And I was watching YouTube and Rumble, and several shows last night came up on parasites and how much they can do to you. And I started laughing because both my husband and I just, had our watches on, and we just reached over and started playing parasites again. That's a go-to, because the parasites can cause as much problems as this, and parasites could be connected to some of these ideas also. But so another go-to now is my folder for brain, and running through all these ideas for hopefully prevention, So I'm not saying I'm having any of these. I'm just saying I want my brain cleaned out, to protect and prevent. So these are some of the symptoms that are coming up with dementia. It doesn't mean that you have dementia, but these are some of the symptoms. If somebody would go to a medical doctor, they have a checklist pretty much that they are using. But another idea that I saw from Mayo Clinic is that you can have these same symptoms and it's really not even dementia, but they may have used their little checklist and given you the idea that you had dementia, when these dementia-like symptoms can be connected with problems and different conditions. So if you had an infection, one of the biggest ones that comes to my mind is people in, nursing homes, assisted living, or whatever. If they have UTIs, it bothers their brains. That is one of the biggest links that everybody should know immediately. If you have a parent that's having trouble with their brain, check them for UTIs first, because that does cause a huge connection. And the medical community may go back the opposite way and say, oh, they're just developing dementia, when it is actually infection. So there would be more than one possibility. The only one I know, just to jump in and let you know, is UTI infections. Again, we can have thyroid problems. We can have nutrient deficiencies. Now, how many of us are out in the sun enough? We're not. So how many of us are getting the food we need? The nutrients? We're not. So, have a nutrient test, have a panel done. If you or anybody that is having any of these dementia-like symptoms. You could also have a little bit of water on your brain, some pressure, and they can actually work with that. I'm not sure their exact procedure to, release that, but that does cause problems with the brain, obviously. Or if you have some bleeding in your brain, you need to be going to the doctor. You may not realize anything, so you can have some of these symptoms. And again, maybe you need to take your mom or your dad to the doctor. I'm not saying us all the time, but just the idea that we're reaching out. And I've heard so many of you say that you are sharing your WAVwatch with your neighbors, and I just want to shout out and say that is so fantastic, because we're paying attention to our neighbors and seeing that they might have a problem here and there. And you might be involved with taking them to a doctor to find out some information. Or maybe you could just ask them about their nutrients. Hey, are you taking any vitamin D? Are you doing XYZ? So there might be some ideas there. Also, another idea is, again, the medicine side effects, So if somebody, is having some problems, memory loss, depression, the list goes on and on, grab their medicines, figure out what their medicines are, and look up the side effects for them and see if that would be anything that could be changed. Again, you have to go to that medical doctor for that, but at least you have an idea of something that could be a possible connection. And then brain tumors could be part of the dementia-like conditions. Somebody might not have dementia. They might just have a tumor pressing on their brain that is causing that. Now that's going to be rare, but I've had a client that actually had that. So you never know when dementia-like symptoms can be coming up for us. So I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to go too slow because we might have time to talk about this and share some ideas. But we also have taste disorders. So again, so many of these are precursors to either dementia or Alzheimer's. And so that's why, again, I'm trying to point this out. Why don't we protect ourselves from these ideas, just like we are doing now from parasites? I don't know how many of you have contacted me and all of a sudden the parasites, we're really paying attention to those because those are a basis for so many of our problems that has been unrecognized for years and years. So we do have problems with weight that can cause our loss of sense of smell and taste. But taste is the main one that's could be reflective on diabetes, high blood pressure, again, poor nutrition, and then development of Parkinson's, Alzheimer, and MS. So those taste disorders are huge. And we've already mentioned the vaccinations, which really came forefront, the last couple of years. More and more people had problems with taste and smell after a vaccination. So I did have a couple of testimonies on people that had improved with their sense of smell and taste, and they had not had a vaccination. That's a way to say that. So there are several taste disorders also that we have frequencies for. So it's a great way to protect yourself a little bit, and in the whole process, be protecting your brain. I was thrilled to find this slide, and I see I forgot to give credit to where I got it from, but there was listed on the internet 4 natural ways to regain your smell. So I thought this was kind of interesting. There is something such as smell training. And they actually introduce a patient. You could go to a doctor to do this. And they have 4 strong odors that are found in your home, and you're supposed to smell them for about 20 seconds and then repeat this, every day for 3 to 4 times a day for 6 weeks. So that might be an idea. Then I saw the same thing with just peppermint. They said just to take, peppermint oil and sniff it several times a day to try to clean up your sense of smell. But this one was a little bit more in depth. They were saying coffee grounds, to find 4 really strong smells that you could do every day and really smell to try to get that cleaned up. Now, castor oil has been another idea. And so there was some specifics on using castor oil. You'd want to look that one up. I didn't have enough, room here to list that, but it's has been used to restore the sense of smell. And I thought that was very, very interesting. That is way better than any prescription that might be suggested. That's a really good starting point. I love the fact that raw ginger can be very useful. So you can use a powdered raw ginger, but they said actually just to take a tea bag, to drink tea. Ginger tea would actually help in your sense of smell. So as you're drinking that tea, you're also smelling it. And then a saline irrigation, a saltwater rinse can also be very, very helpful. So there were several ideas out there to regain your sense of smell. And that's very important for us. And I love the internet for looking up these small ideas like this. It was very, very hard. I did not hardly find anything for the very first, the agnosmia, excuse me, I didn't say that right. I didn't see anything for that very first idea. There was nothing that I could come up with on the internet, but there were several things for sense of smell. And that's what we want to do, is ask around. We want to look around, and the internet is wonderful for that. So just type in natural ideas to regain your smell, natural ideas to regain your memory, and the list goes on and on. Those are at our fingertips and our disposal, so please use them. Very informative for me, so I hope it is for you. So another idea that I thought was very important is that vitamin D. They actually have a study, and they show that smell and taste can decline as we age. Not necessarily. They found impairment in 40-year-olds, and they found impairments definitely in 70 to 80-year-olds, just because of a low vitamin D. So another one would be get your vitamin D tested and make sure your vitamin D level is correct. Now, again, I'm a teacher, so raise your hand if you're outside and you get enough vitamin D. There shouldn't be anybody here that's getting enough vitamin D. We are all low in vitamin D, and the sense of taste and smell is going on and getting worse and worse, And they say it's from aging, but maybe it's just because we're not getting that vitamin D. So that's a huge one in my mind. So there are many forms of vitamin D that you could be taking, and that's very, very important. You can get out in the sun more. And then I forgot to put this in my PowerPoint, but I do have something called viral immune support. And it is in the virus folder. You would go to germs, then you would go to viruses. You would open the virus folder out, pick out viral immune support, and that is vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and iodine. So you could play that one also a lot too. That's a really good one to loop around, and then get your vitamin D. That's the easiest thing that I could see to work on both ideas at the same time. And they know the vitamin D is a huge factor, and a huge amount of us have low vitamin D. So if you're worried and you're having some problems, get your vitamin D checked. There's an easy home test that you can do for that. And again, that could have been another idea I could have put up here, but vitamin D testing is fairly easy to do in your own home. Now, kind of to finish this up maybe a little bit, I talked about this a lot, and I know some people may be getting tired of me saying this, but I always repeat it just in case there's somebody new on board. But we have been told that higher sodium intake messes with our mind. So medically, we're just told to not take any salt whatsoever. And think about this. It's not phrased correctly. They've got some of it right, but most of it is wrong. So you should take salt, but it has to be an unrefined salt. So you want the Himalayan salt, the real salt, or the Celtic, the light gray salt, because these have around 80 minerals in them. And this is very, very important. Just think about the color of these salts. They're all a different color. So that tells you they have a different combination of minerals in them. And it's very, very important. Now, I like to kind of mention this, but I used to teach gifted education, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade accelerated students. And you always had to find something that would keep their interest, And one time so this would have been 20 years ago, I found something to the effect that, of course, they fought wars over salt. Salt was hugely important in our ancient world. And, they paid wages in salt, there's so many things to connect salt. They traded in salt. They fought wars over salt, like I mentioned before. And after that war was over, a lot of times they cut the heads off of their opponents and drank the blood. So I'm looking at my, 6th, 7th, 8th grade students and going, why would they do that? And they'd all go, well, Mrs. Bamber, they're just getting the minerals out of the blood. They knew instinctively. That's why the war was fought, was to get those minerals. And then also you can find in some areas that they did know. I mean, it's very hard for me to find that quote now. I've just known it for 20 years. But they also knew that the reason they fought the wars for the salt was because their population went crazy. That was the word they used. It went crazy when they didn't have salt. Well, what does that tell you about our population today? We've been told to take no salt, no salt whatsoever. And so my mother was like that 20 years ago, or maybe longer now, 30. Her doctor told her not to take salt. My dad was on a no salt diet. They had polyunsaturated fats. The doctor told her to, they didn't have coconut oil at that time really out there actually. So this was, before some of these things were more accessible on the market. But all she had was, rapeseed oil really. And she had, just the oils in the grocery store, which were polyunsaturated, trans fats, that kind of thing. And that's all my dad and mom had for years because that's what the doctors told them. So the oil wasn't thought through either. So the salt is huge for our minds, and also the right kind of oils are huge. So just a simple change could be huge for us. And then again, I'm on my high horse about salt. I always say that. I always say the same phrase, high horse about salt. But anyway, it is super important. Do not forget that without these 80 minerals, your body cannot digest amino acids. The enzymes of vitamins aren't processed correctly, and the list goes on and on. So the basis of us being able to work with different foods that we are paying for, or different supplements that we are paying for, is the minerals in the salt. That's the most important thing. So other things that you could play on the WAVwatch are the Alzheimer's. I play through those quite a bit. I'm not trying to get myself into, a negative comment with my mother having been diagnosed with this, but I play through the depression, the trauma, all these ideas. And then I also play through the detox folder. And I tell you what, I tried to copy and paste this and it just listed all of these things, but hey, that's what we need anyway, so we needed, you could play through MS once in a while because there's a connection with your loss of taste and smell there. So the list goes on. And I've made other presentations about how these chemicals in our environment are causing mental problems. So make sure you do the Alzheimer's folder if that's of interest to you, and then especially the detox folder. So this is why, again, look at all of these. So everything in the world can be causing problems with our mind. I hate to say that, everything in the world, but all these toxins. So the list goes on, and I don't need to remind you too much of that. I just thought this was a good picture from paulaowens.com that just shows us how so many things can connect with our brain, hormones, and our lives. And then there's more if you want to go on to that. We've already covered this in another one that I did call brain. But today I wanted to talk more about senior moments a little bit. But there isn't any reason that you might explore these once in a while, or you might need to know that they're on the watch to share with your neighbor, whatever you need. So these are some ideas in the brain folder. And then emotions. Why wouldn't you go through emotions? So we have a detox mental disorders. Dissociative disorders. There is no reason why we shouldn't be trying to detox our brain. That's all it's saying. I'm not saying that it's diagnosing anybody with any kind of a mental disorder. I'm saying we're trying to protect and prevent so that no one else needs to be rushing to the doctor's office or the hospital because they really, really do have a problem. Let's detox. Let's keep things going. Let's get our body cleaned out. And along that idea with detox, I have been interviewed by Michelle Moore, and she tells this testimony several times. She does have a foot detox bath, a foot bath. And she said she's had them for 15 years, and there's 4 in their family, and they even have the double detoxes for one goes for their 2 sons and one goes for them. It's a really cute little testimony. And she says that, you know, for years, the color of their water has always been really dark and murky. And if anybody's seen those foot detox baths, they are really gross. They really pull out a lot of things. And of course, the people that want to discredit the foot baths are saying, oh, that, you know, just water will do that. Yes, it does. But more and more things come out when somebody actually has their feet in there. So don't worry about it. These actually do work. And anyway, her testimony is that after she started using the WAVwatch, the color of their water changed completely. And she's mostly talking about hers, that she knows that her water was so thick and murky, and now it's just really light and there's not hardly anything in it. So she is giving credit to the WAVwatch for cleaning up her body quite a bit. So I don't know if anybody else has had that or could do that, but it's really important to be detoxing for all of these ideas. So huge. I think I'm kind of closing up now. I just want to suggest to you that, again, there's more and more evidence of sound therapy being good for your body. So thank you for trying the WAVwatch and for the importance of it. Now, I don't know if anybody wants to see this. I can show this one more time. I believe I'm showing you how to play playlists on this. So I'll punch a button. We'll hope that it comes through. I'm not sure that I actually touched all the buttons. I forgot that I had this in this video. Can anybody hear that?
I cannot.
Okay, let me go back and punch a button here. Yeah, I have to punch something else to get that to work. Now, you don't want to get too excited on this, but I think the brain that we've been talking about today and all of those frequencies are perfect to add to a playlist because there's some in different categories. So obviously the first thing you're going to do is hold the bottom button for 3 seconds to have the watch turn on. You wait a couple of seconds for it to rev up, and then obviously you have 3 swipe screens. So the first thing you need to do is to have read your book and look through it so that you realize that there might be several categories that have brain ideas in them. So I just happen to know that we have some in emotions. So I'm going to tab or touch the emotions folder. And I can see that there's several ideas here, but I'm looking for basically, and I've already jumped into it, so this happens to us sometimes. So I'm looking for brain concentration. So I'm simply going to touch that brain concentration folder, and then we'll come to the main screen. So there are so many things that we can do here, but we're just going to make it easy. We're going to just touch the heart icon, and that will immediately put this into playlist number 1. Now we'll be talking about playlist number 2 and 3 a little bit later. So just a few more touches of the button to get it there. Now we have a couple of opportunities. We can go forward 1 because I just happen to know that there is brain energize and stimulate is the next one. So I'm also going to touch the heart button also. Now I could go back and continue down. I could see that I might want calming, and I can touch that button there. Now, if I go back, if I think I've skipped one, I can tell because the heart is still checked. So that one is in my folder too. So I can go forward. That one's in my folder. I could keep going forward if I wanted, or I can go back to make some more selections. So we could go this way, and each person is going to choose. Now, I like this particular one, detox mental disorder. So, hey, that's me. So I'm going to touch that one and actually put up, check the heart symbol also. So I could put a few more in as I go on down, or I could go back. Again, you have your choices, but you have to be, a little bit slower on your fingers once in a while. Sometimes if you have trouble, you might, pinch your fingers together a little bit, warm them up. Somebody might want PTSD, but I'm seeing mental clarity right here. That's the one I want. And then I want to touch that heart button. So now I think I've got everything that I wanted out of that folder because I looked at my booklet before I got started. So now what I'm going to do is go back, and I know that there are a couple of ideas in the organ folder. So we're going to go there, and you could go back to the icons, or you could just go back to this screen here. So we see brain. And then I don't need brain abscess. Somebody might. So we've got some different ideas there. So we're going to go ahead and go on down the ideas. And what I saw was brain stimulate. And I'm going to put it there. All I had to do was check that heart folder. Now I can go back and see if there's anything else that I want. There are several different ideas. Oh, I see a gamma brain wave. So I think I'm going to put that one in there. Okay. And all I had to do again was check the heart button. So then I'm going to back up, and I'm going to go to the last folder that I saw. Oh, and I might say, oh, maybe I want hypothalamus. And I can do that at the last minute too. So lots of different things to do. It's not that hard, just getting the feel for going back and forth with your fingers. Now I'm going to go back one more time, and this time I'm looking for seniors. And again, I could go back a couple more times, and that was a lot easier to go right where I was at. But you can do everything two different ways. So here's the icon for seniors, and this time I'm looking at Alzheimer's. My mother has Alzheimer's, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. And somebody might say, oh, but you don't have Alzheimer's. But I'm still going to be doing some prevention. So I'm going to put that one in. I'm going to go to the next one. And don't forget Alzheimer's 1 and 2, or anything numbered a little bit differently. It's just the same song, maybe in a little bit different key, sang by a different singer. So that's pretty easy to take care of. And then here's one for depression. I'm going to skip that one. Here's another one for insomnia. That happens to be a problem with our brain, so I am going to check that particular one. And then I'm going to go forward. And here's Lewy body. I'm skipping that one. Trauma, skipping that one. And then it goes into the next folder down, which is arthritis. So we're wanting to work only with brain. So I'm going to go back and back. And now I can see brain right here. And then I want to check all of these, because if you've done your homework on your brain or Alzheimer's, you know that people have problems with sense of taste and smell and name recall. So I can go through and easily add all of these. Again, just touching the arrow and going back and forth. Now, if I want to see how I've done, I simply go to the lower bars. I don't know if you can really see those, but the menu bar, and I'm going to touch the menu bar, and then I'm going to touch home. Now, we want to remember this because we're going to go back and do some other things later, but we'll go home, and then, see, I didn't touch that quite right, so I got myself got to go back several steps, and then we're finally back. But sometimes that does happen. Don't get frustrated, just let it go. So then we're going to swipe across to favorites, and we'll touch playlist number 1, and then we'll see the 11 ideas that I put in there. Now there were a few more that I could have, but for the sake of the short video, that's what we did. And when I open the first one, it's checked, and all of those will have the check on the little heart.
And if I set it with the double arrows, it will play through all 11 of those ideas.
Okay, so I hope that video wasn't too long, but and I have played it before, but it definitely fit into what we were talking about today. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. If anybody has any questions or anything I could help people with, or any testimonies, just time to interact, and then we're kind of winding down for the day. Any comments or questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Jerry, can you, so you can do many different frequencies at the same time?
Well, it's going to go through them individually, and each frequency.
That's what I mean, it'll take one
Yes.
individually.
But each frequency that I have may have up to 30 different frequencies inside it. So that's why it makes that specific sound. And, you can tell if you listen, you can touch a couple of them and it'll go, different sounds.
You
And
didn't
so
show if
you
there was a
know.
start button. Was there a start button on there? You didn't show that.
It starts immediately when you open that frequency up. And then in the middle of the screen, you can touch it and it will stop. There's an arrow in the middle to stop it or start it, but it does start immediately without you touching any start button.
Did you have an email, or does Tom have an email for if we want to get contact? This is my first time I've watched this. My wife
Yes,
saw it.
and I think I did have that on an earlier slide and I forgot to read it. So thank you for reminding me, Jared. But it's info@WAVwatch.com. And the
Yeah, I got that.
information is on the back of the book, and the phone number and the email. And that gets to Tom, who you must know him already because you knew his name. So
Well, you
Tom,
mentioned his name before.
Oh, okay. I mentioned it. All right. See, there goes senior moment. So anyway, it's on the back of the book. So, but give us a little bit of time. We are having some growing pains here and putting more staff on. But
Is there a
he's
way
very,
to look
very
at the
good.
book? Is there a way to look at the book online before?
Yes, there
decide
is.
to
You just
order?
go online and it's posted 2 or 3 different places. You can download a PDF of the book.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Good morning, Linda. This is Marisol. How is everybody doing?
Hi, Marisol.
Good morning. I have a question. I got my watch, yay, last Wednesday, which I was very excited. The only thing is that I'm encountering that under emotions, all the ideas don't play. There's no sound. There's nothing is happening. So what do I do? Because it's there's nothing. I try to play every single one.
The emergency test is going off in my ear right now. It always goes off Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So sorry about that. I don't know if anybody can hear that. Marisol, somewhere on this booklet, there used to be a note that the frequencies hardly have any sound. That is a normal reaction. So I said that wrong. None of the frequencies for emotions have a sound. We may have to wait until that EBS quits going off.
Okay.
But the emotions do not have a sound. The vagus nerve hardly has a sound. So I tried to put notes on that in a couple different places. So the way that you can tell is if you go to someplace else, like you go to, blood. It's still loud in my ear. I don't know if anybody can hear it, but you can, go back and forth on your watch playing one frequency and it'll go E, another one will go E, another one will go E. So if you can get it to do that, your speaker is still working, but it will not hardly make a sound at all on the emotions.
No,
but your body is absorbing that frequency. It is actually putting out a frequency that your body can feel. That's the importance of wearing it on your body so that it does touch and you do get some out of that.
Okay, got it. I thought something was wrong. I was already sad. I'm like, why did it happen to me? Okay.
No.
Something I've done with the emotions is I turn it all the way up to the highest volume and then put it up to your, and you can hear a slight or a, real quiet, but it would kind of assure you that it's actually going.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. And one last question, Linda. I haven't found hepatitis because I'm trying to do liver detox, and I know it says see also detox and hepatitis, but I know everything is alphabetized on your book, but I still can't find it for the love of me.
Hepatitis by itself may not be in there. It may be under more viral, included in the general viral.
Oh, got it. More viral. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. So I don't know if anybody can hear that. Sound is really loud today. It's just their normal once a month test, but it's really over the top for me. All right, any other
I
questions?
have it here
I
too.
guess-
It's happening in Marietta, Georgia. We get it here at noontime, and every single Wednesday, not once a month. So I can hardly hear you over the air raid siren in the background. That's what it sounds like. Love your new glasses, and it's a great presentation.
Oh, okay. I do have a question if you can hear. Someone said, can they wear the TENS unit while wearing the watch? The TENS unit works on electrical stimulation. The WAVwatch is working on acoustical frequencies. And one of the most modern updates comes from the University of Denmark. And wow, they say that they think that we have acoustical sound frequencies are our nerves. Our nerves may not be electrical like we've been taught for the last 50 years. So that will be kind of interesting. But the TENS unit is working completely different than the WAVwatch. So as far as I know, it should be safe to wear. So we did put Tom's email and phone number on. And then any other questions?
I don't see it.
See what?
Tom's email and phone number.
It's on the back of the booklet.
Right here,
Yes,
Oh,
and that-
okay.
back of the
Okay.
booklet here.
There you go. Get your little booklet out. I hope you get your booklets. Okay. And oh, quick testimony. Can somebody give that orally, or do you want me to read it? It was from Rob. Are you still on, Rob?
Yes.
Would you like to give that orally, or you?
Oh, I can. So,
Okay, that'd be great.
yeah, and I don't know if you could read the rest of that email, but I would like to talk to you about, the kind of the vision for a self-care model for corporate health sometime when you're
Okay.
available.
All
So
right.
anyway, so I have had a throbbing pain, very targeted in my calf. And it just hit me that maybe it's a blood clot, because I'm a diabetic. So I Googled blood clots, and I had all the symptoms, and it was not going away, and it was getting worse. And so I was walking out the door to go to the emergency room to get it scanned or whatever they do. And I thought, now let's use the WAVwatch. I put that on for probably, I don't know, maybe 24 minutes. And the pain was like down probably by 70% very quickly. And now it's almost gone. And I got a little freaked out because I felt like it was moving, and I'm thinking, the blood clot's moving up my leg or something, but now it's gone. I just have a little bit of nagging. So this thing works.
Oh, I appreciate that, Rob. And I'm so glad that improved that. And so then, I'd always encourage people they think something like that is going on to take that particular frequency that did make a change and loop that, for a longer period of time to try to make sure that everything's taken care of. And then, you'll make your decision about whether you go on to the hospital, the doctor, or whatever you need to do, Perfect. And I got your number down, Rob, and I remember talking to you before. All right.
Okay.
Anything else or any other questions that I could help with?
Linda, sorry, it's Marisol. I just found hepatitis under pathogens in your book.
Oh, I know it was in there somewhere. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, just thank you.
See, I love to say senior moments. It's like, and then I think, well, there really are 1,000 frequencies. It's not that bad if I can't remember where every single one is located.
Right, and everything is in alphabetical order, so what the heck? Okay, thank
You
you.
know? Okay, we got it now. All right, Kim.
Okay, yes, I have a weird question, but do you know of anything that could help a woman who when they go in
Can't hear
labor?
it.
Oh, can you not hear me?
I can. I'm okay.
Oh, okay. So to help the cervix soften and open, is there anything in there that we could play for that? I was asked that question. I went, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. There's,
What do you think about muscle spasms?
Yeah, it was like a muscle relax. I
Right,
mean,
right.
Yeah.
Real muscle ones.
Anybody on the vagus nerve? Does that have anything to do with? Sure. Hormones are good. You know, oxytocin is the hormone that releases helps us during pregnancy and childbirth,
okay.
but maybe just a hormone balance, you know,
Okay.
so I don't have one specifically for oxytocin.
How about calm? I know when I was in labor with my daughter, the doctor kept telling me, relax your cervix. And I would try to relax. And he said, you've relaxed every muscle in your body but your cervix. Concentrate on relaxing your cervix. And boom, everything opened up and everything was fine. So
Huh.
it may take the power of intention and calmness to help.
Okay, well, I'll also, yeah,
Comment
suggest
that-
relaxation, calm.
Yeah.
That's
I-
good.
I love that. You could put 3 or 4 of those ideas together, you know,
Yeah.
anxiety. Yeah. Maybe more of those ideas that we have on there that would be helpful rather than anything specifically that says childbirth or cervix or whatever. All right.
Thank you.
Great question. Marisol.
Linda, I just remember my dad thinks that his pain on his left leg, what I shared with you guys last week, is sciatic nerve.
Mhm.
So what do you recommend for that?
Well, there is one sciatic, and that is in nerves.
Nerves. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mhm. But I would run through a lot of the nerve ideas. You know, there's some general nerves like nerve combo, nerve healing, nerve system disorders, you know,
Got it. Got it.
there are
Thank you.
some different ideas, but in nerves.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming today so much. It seems like I'm getting to know people all over the US. So I thank you again. And we'll convene next week if I have another topic. I'm kind of running low on topics here, but if you have any topics, you could, my name and email is lindabamber@gmail.com, and you could email me if you're interested in a particular topic, and I'll see if I can
Alright.
find anything about that. But
Okay.
anyway, unless there's anything else, I think I've
Just a
taken your
friend-
time.
Just a
Yes.
friendly reminder, starting tomorrow is Dr. Artist Healing for the Ages for 3 days. Amazing. He's going to tell you how to detox, how to do so many things. They're going to talk about frequencies. So if you can join, that would be awesome.
I loved it when you told us that last week. It was great. Thank you, Marisol.
Alrighty.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.